Deepji for a wonderful introductions, and I'm feeling proud about that thing. Thank you so much. Okay, I will run through the a case study. We have implemented Caseway Monitor in our organization in year 2012. Just to give you a briefing about an organization. The organization has 60 years of experience in India, is one of the oldest freight forwarding company. I'm not sure any one of you have heard the name of AFL. This is the original AFL freight forwarding division actually. Has got merged or maybe came into a joint venture in 2007 with Daxer of Germany. So in that sense, it's having 60 years of experience in India. We have 29 offices across the country, and everything has been decentralized because we are in a service industry. We cannot have any centralized function. Just to ensure that our customer gets best of the services. Of course, it is a necessity, and it also poses lots of challenges to us when everything is getting decentralized. Global network, it's just a number, I would say, 315 profit center worldwide, which caters to all our customers who want the services across the globe. As far as India is concerned, we have plus 500 people working in Daxer India Private Limited, so who takes care of the customer as well as the internal controls and other features, other functions, I would say. A real-time customers of plus 1,500 customers. Plus we have many ad hoc customers who keeps on coming in, they've been referred by our global network offices as well. Industry expertise, we cater to technology, consumer, retail, alternate energies, and automobiles, life science, and few others, I would say. From the company's point of view, the IT point of view, technology-wise, it's an integrated customized software called Shatranj. We have implemented this software in 2009. It is live now. So it is a completely customized and an industry-specific, technically industry-specific customized software. We also have few of our internal softwares which caters to various other requirements like sales, customer service, or the reporting, few of the exceptional reports which we generate for our internal purposes. Rest of the things are quite normal, I would say. Just a glimpse of where these 29 offices and how many people across all those 29 offices. So there is no concentration in any of the regions per se. It's spread across all regions, I would say. Okay, with this coming back to in 2012 early part actually, we were just thinking that, how do we improve our corporate governance? How do we raise the bar? How do we ensure that, the accounting, or there is no pilferage, there is no leakages, there is a transparency in our reports, plus the risk management, of course, I would say, because one of the reason our board gives the highest priority as far as the internal control, the governance, and the risk management part is concerned. Daily we deal with the foreign exchanges, currency exposures are part of our daily life, I would say. So how do you manage those things as well, What we have experienced that, yes, there was a good amount of a compliance which was there earlier, but it was not giving a continuous kind of a confirmation that do we have 100% compliance? Is there any gaps in between? How do we overcome? And few of the observations are like, the issues were identified after some lapses actually. So, it was like a post-mortem things, and then you overcome those, even if it is a 1% or a 2% of those overall issues kind of thing. We were thinking, how do we zeroing down those things, Is there any way we can zeroing down? And then we came across, we only thought about that the only solution is the cats, So if we have some good product available in the market, which we can use this. The whole objective of search then started actually, that we wanted a software or we wanted a tool which caters to a real-time compliances and it supports the enterprise risk management function actually. Also, it gives an effective and efficient governance also to the board of directors. We have a policy that, every board meeting, the chief managements have to give a certification to the board that there is a 100% compliances. So it poses a lots of responsibility on the senior management team. How do we ensure that the compliances are at 100%, if there are any revenue leakages, how do we curb it? So that was also one of the objectives. We were just trying to look at that. Early signals, red flags, or a deviation. So it's an exceptional management report kind of a thing. So is there any tool which provides us these features as well? Plus, we wanted to improve our self-control in the compliances. We wanted our people to ensure that, there is a real-time compliances rather than the post-mortem compliances. We had a complex database actually. The sheer nature of our business is a data-driven business, We deal with multiple customers on one side. We deal with carriers, airlines, shipping lines, customs on the other side. So there is a lot of emphasis on the data, a lot of emphasis on the number of reports required to be submitted, number of papers needs to be filed with the government organization or in agencies. So there was a bit of a challenge in that sense, And of course, any tool which we talk about, I think there has to be a cost benefit for that tool. We heard from Andrew about, the ROI in the morning. So that was also one of the objectives when we looked into this. And of course, yes, when we were searching, I think we come across Deepji and he proposed Caseware. So we found that Caseware may be one of the tools. So we evaluated that thing and then we found that, yes, this is a good tool to really look into that thing. And that's where we decided to move to Caseware, The decision-making pointers for going for a Caseware, because it identifies anomalies as close to as a real time, which we also heard from Andrew in the morning. It applied to any business processes or across any platforms. So I think this is also an important point which we have taken into account. Being a technical software, what we have it, and there are a number of internal softwares. So, how the tool sits on all those databases and pull out an exception reports, if any, so that was one of the key criteria for us. Plus it improves our compliances, controls, and the business policies and the regulations, which is the highest priority. Risk management, auditors' confidence, yes. We do have an internal audit team within the organization. At the same time, our statutory auditors, so for them also, it's a comfort level kind of a thing that, yes, there is a certain tool which is there in the company which caters to or which at least takes care of these compliances and the governance issues point of view. Because it's difficult when you have 29 offices, what's happening in one part of the country and what's happening over there, how do you really on a real-time basis you can monitor sitting in Mumbai office or any other places in India, in that sense. Faster response from the users. I think after we implemented the Casewares, what we observed that the response from the users has really speed up, kind of thing, because it's a real-time issue. When the message is going to the users and they realize their mistakes or even an error, immediately rectification is being taken care. So I think in that sense, the quality of the data, the compliances bar has been really raised in a great way, I would say. And it also helps us to manage the risk and controls across the enterprise by continuous monitoring business activities. When we finalize this tool, the features which were critical for our organization was it has a built-in workflow and the notification. So, it caters to our internal work processes and the workflows as well. Plus, it is a fully customizable workflow. So wherever there is a fine-tuning or a customization is required in future, because if there is a change in the regulations, we have to fine-tune our processes in our existing software. This tool caters to those kind of a flexibility as well. So this is one of the important area which we also considered at that point of time. It also facilitates assignments, approval, and escalation processes. I think here we find some challenges actually when we really implemented that how do we assign a multiple people if required, how do we set up the approval processes, and who is the responsible desk who is supposed to close the issues kind of thing. Yes, there was a lot of interaction with Sama, and I think they have really helped us out in overcoming these issues. The notification delivered via email, though there is a provision that it can also go via an SMS, but we have decided that it should be via email because that's a very, very official communication, and the people within the systems can get this notification immediately, you know. It provides a seamless management of false positives. I think that's one of the key features which we have taken into account before deciding this tool. We adopted a 5 steps framework which has been proposed by Caseware, when we have selected these things. It's predominantly what Andrew has just now run through with all of us. But since we are using earlier version 3.3, these are the 5 steps framework. We use it for identifying the key controls and data to be monitored, you know. What are the key controls we wanted to have it? What are the key points we want to track it, you know? Accordingly, we design our triggers actually, you know, that what kind of a triggers, maybe you select a one area, what do you want it in from that one area? So that we set our triggers over there. Then we scheduling and the process configuration. Then we have set up, how do we schedule, how do we set the process configuration for each of these areas within the Caseware system. Receive issues and alerts. So then, you know, the whole process started that, okay, let's do a trial run kind of a thing. We got issues, alerts, how does it get response, how does it get, improves in the system. So initially we have done some trial runs kind of things, because we wanted to have an assurance that before we hand it over or before we move to the real-time kind of implementation, internally we wanted to check and we want to ensure that everything works properly, because the issues are coming in a proper manner. Monitor all issues to enhance the control. Of course, then we monitor and, you know, then how to roll it over, because we didn't roll out each issues at the same time. We have taken it up on a priority basis. The low-hanging fruits we selected, we thought that, okay, that's the right way to begin with. Once initially we get a success, I think the whole system will be aligned to that thing, and there will be more buying, you know, from the users in that sense. How it works, it is examine the transaction and the data within the business process to detect exceptions based on the business rules and the parameters. It alert the relevant users via email, which I have just spoken about. All alerts and the reports are managed within a comprehensive workflow solution. I think this is the most important, the critical one, that you define your workflow, because every company, when they go for an ERP system or any localized system, have their inbuilt workflow. Unless that workflow is understood properly, implementation is going to be a big challenge in that case. So you need to understand what is your internal workflow, and accordingly, you need to really fine-tune your Caseware triggers, you know. Journey of implementation for us, why it took actually less than 2 months to, you know, really implement in the beginning. Of course, the trial run and other thing took a little longer time, but the implementation was very smooth, I would say. 2 main reasons, I would say. We have an integrated system, as I mentioned in the beginning, plus we have a seamless database, because when across the ERP system, if your database is a seamless database, it becomes easier in that case. So we found that since our database was seamless, we able to implement this Caseware in a much efficient way in that case. And of course, I must say, we got a very good support from Sama in that case. Wherever we faced the problem, they were there to help us out. Also, the installation of the software, we able to get it done online through Canada office, actually, to the technical support team, which is almost, I would say, 3 or 4 hours job kind of a thing. But I think that was a very, very pleasant experience, I must say that. Coming back to the triggers, actually, these are the 7 triggers we set it up to begin with, I can say. We focus on all those low-hanging fruits that, vendor master process. So how do we ensure that our vendor master, with a blank pen or maybe a same pen? I'll come to each of these triggers one by one. So vendor master, service tax related areas. We heard in the morning from, about the, how the tax can play an important role, and this is a very, very critical area, from Shailesh Bhai actually. And the finance process, which is a quite normal audit tool process, you can say, Coming back to the pen, the blank pen or a SEM pen differs or a different vendors, we have regular plus and ad hoc vendors. Now to just run through or go to a little deeper into this thing, we being in service industry, since we support importers and exporters to move cargo, to move their goods from point A to point B, what happens is sometimes, depending upon their contract, the services is supposed to be provided or the charges to be supposed to be paid by either by a shipper or by a consignee, because this is on a live basis kind of a thing. In order to overcome those things, or in order to support our customer who's stationed outside India, the consignee for that matter, we have no choice but to go ahead and transfer the money into the transporter's bank account through an RTGS or through an NEFT kind of a mode. But the bigger question is on compliances. How do you ensure that you get your KYC for the vendor is being done, which has a PAN, proper addresses, etc., etc., So this was a challenge kind of a thing. Initially, in the past, how we were doing, we were paying the money and we were keeping a track record separately, following it up on getting, the PAN numbers from the vendors at a later date. Sometimes vendors are not interested because when they got the money, they just don't feel that, they need to comply with the KYC norms. And looking into the transport industry in India, because it is so fragmented, there are sometimes the PAN is not available also. So when we implemented these things, we thought that this is the area where we need to take care, because even the TDS returns you cannot file without a PAN, because the government will not allow you, or you will not be able to upload your returns if you do not have a PAN numbers. So I think this has helped us a lot in a way that, payment is going, that process we cannot change because there are hardly any scope available for us that we can hold the payment and, till the time the KYC is done. So the payment has been done, but then who will follow it up for the PAN number? Now I think here the Caseware has helped us out a lot, that this trigger is happening on a regular, incremental, meaning on a daily transactional basis. So on a daily basis, there's a trigger goes, and on a weekly basis, another set of a trigger which is getting straight away from coming out from the system, which gives you a complete information about which are the vendors for which you do not have a PAN number, and you keep on following it up. The responsibility has been put it up to the finance people to ensure that the KYC is completed within a week's time. This trigger has helped us out to raise that bar substantially, in fact. So I think this is one of the most critical area for us, and we able to solve this problem using the Caseware, the software. Another area is a service tax area. I'm sure you are all familiar with the service tax, I guess, yeah? We being in service industry and international freight forwardings, there are high scope of revenue leakages in this area from the tax point of view, because it differs from which are the charge head, which are the parties, and what kind of a movement happens. You all know today that for an exporter, the service tax is getting exempt. For an import of the cargo, the service tax falls under a negative list. But what happened to any services you provide within the country? Any services you provide within the country is liable for the service tax. Now, it was a big challenge. Assuming there is an import cargo coming, so up to the port of an import, let's say first port in India, assuming it's a Mumbai port, so when the cargo comes, to that extent, whatever the charges are applicable, no service tax. But beyond that, whatever services you provide to your consignee here in India, a service tax is applicable. Plus, it also depends on what are the heads under which the service tax is applicable. For example, transportation. The transportation is falling under a reverse charge mechanism. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the reverse charge mechanism under the transport, as far as the transport expenses are concerned. So it was a big challenge as far as the service tax area is concerned. Plus, there are certain exemption category. If your customers are located in a special EPZ or they have an STPI or a EOUs kind of a status, no service tax applicable to them. So framing this within the system, existing system, is a bit challenge to us. So we left it to the people. There are so many times the customer has got an exemption from the service tax. Now, you know, to manage those kind of an exception within the system, it's always a big challenge. Till date, it was happening through a manual, meaning the person who's sitting and preparing an invoice, they used to take care of those things. But it was not 100% assurance to us that yes, there is a full compliance as far as the company is concerned. Here, we found that the Caseware can be an excellent tool which allows us to monitor these things, which allows us to ensure that the service tax compliance is being taken care 100% and there is no revenue leakages, so there is no service tax being charged which we are supposed to charge, or we have charged where we were not supposed to charge. So this is another area which we feel that it has helped us a lot. Coming back on the reverse charge, we all know today that it is difficult to manage a reverse charge. Tomorrow you pay to a professional individual or a professional fees to an individual where your liability has now come to a recipient. So as a recipient of the services, you are supposed to discharge your service tax liability. Now, you receive such kind of a services across the country. You need to make sure that you provide that liability also in the books of account towards the service tax. Now, this gives you a lots of new challenges. Plus, the law has been changed, so there is a lots of gray area which we are all aware of, effective 1st of July 2012. All these exception things can be controlled, can be managed by way of this notification or by way of these triggers. So we feel that yes, today because of these things, I think it allows us to raise the bar as far as the compliance is concerned. TDS point of view, again here there are a lot of challenges which we had it. This is all industry specific, so please allow me, because may not be applicable to a manufacturing kind of a setup. This is predominantly to a service kind of a setup. The challenge is what we had it is a classification issue. Sometimes, of course, this applies even to manufacturing as far as the TDS part is concerned. Whether you classify under a 194C as a contractor, you classify as a professional kind of a services, and et cetera, et cetera. So if a person willfully or by error debit to a different account, the service tax rules gets different, in that case. So we had to set it up as a combination of a charge head and a charge party kind of a thing, to just give you a technical kind of a perspective. So the combination of these two things can help us in defining that whether the service tax is applicable, yes or no. Because there are quite a lot of areas like a freight charges when we pay to a carrier, no service tax is no TDS is applicable at that point of time. But if we pay to them any other than the freight, then yes, the service tax is applicable. So it's a bit of a challenge, I think, that all of you will be facing in some form or the other in a manufacturing setup or in any kind of service sector setup, you know. We also have, so you know, we set it up here that if the TDS has not been deducted, rather than doing a post-mortem, so you come to know after say 2 weeks or maybe after 4 weeks and the deadline is gone. So you cannot pay the service tax, you cannot pay the TDS before the timeline, which is 6th or 7th of the next month. Also there are instances where you have seen that, you know, the month-end kind of a PJVs, which goes beyond the month. I think it just, when you close the month, maybe it takes 3 days, 5 days from the operational point of view. And at that time, it becoming more challenging that whether you have complied with all the TDS provisions or not. So Caseware can help you in that respect. So wherever there is a provisioning also been done, so you need to count the tax liability as well. Or maybe sometimes the incorrect tax rates or a wrong classification, which I just talked about. The notification here is also on a daily basis plus on a weekly basis, which helps you to, you know, keep a tab on that thing. So when it goes to the actual users, they need to, if they have made a mistake, they can correct it. If they say it is a right, they clarify in their report that no, this is the correct by putting up the clarification, or maybe they put an attachment of the invoice that this is not liable under the service tax, or etc., etc. So I think the program provides a various explanation. It is replicating, or it is replacing rather, I would say, the manual audit system with the continuous auditing through a IT system. We are all familiar with cash payment, about 20,000, just a trigger, because this every auditors would like to see this thing. So if it comes out straight away, I think they have a more comfort level in that sense. Though we say that the ERP we are all aware about that there might be some instances where the data gets corrupt and there will be imbalances arising, rather than you come to know after a month end or a quarter end. It is on a regular basis. So when you have a certain imbalances arises, there's a remote chance, but we just put a trigger here as well. We did discuss since morning about where we can use this tool actually, though we have just begun these things, and these are 7 triggers which we have set it up. What we want to do in future, I just wanted to share with you that these are the areas where we feel that the software can be also useful, and we can set up the triggers going forward. One is, I think somebody is there from the banking industry. For them, I think the validating the logic of the pen. Probably we can also use that thing to avoid any, the fraud things which happens in this area actually. So this is one of the important triggers which we would like to have it in this year. We also have seen sometimes the invoice pending. We have seen either a duplicate invoice or maybe an invoice pending kind of a status, either at a job level or at a charge head level. Now here what I mean charge head level, that for us, if I pay a transport charges on behalf of my customer, whether I have charged them or not. So it's a validating if I pay those things whether I have charged or not, because everything is a pass-through. If I don't charge, probably I'll end up in a loss in that case. So this trigger can help me on a real-time basis to ensure that there is no revenue leakage is there. At the same time, all our documentation what we raise on the customers, because if you go later on, I think he did mention that in an electricity company case where you don't charge, that means you forgo those costs. It's hitting to you. But here also the same thing. You can't go back to your customers at a later date if you have missed out and you realize it after 3 months that, oh, I forgot to charge you, in that case. Loss file, live review and approval. We are in a business where, in number of cases, it happens that our file end up in a loss in that sense. because we do a consolidation also. If the consolidation where the container comes to us and if the console box is lesser than the break-even volume, I can say, obviously my job file will go for a loss. But then, we all have to assess, in that case, the people puts the remarks, which used to happen after a lapse of time. Here, this allows us to put their comments. It allows also to ensure that nothing is missed out. So this is a real-time control, in my opinion. Reverse charge mechanism, I just spoke about that. We are also talking about few operational notifications, particularly the EDI transactions, because nowadays most of the carriers are asking for an online transfer things. Even if a slightest error in that thing or a one field missing, it just bounces back. So the EDI, in order to ensure that your EDI goes through pretty well, we can use this system to ensure that whatever the data is out from, as far as an EDI from our system, is complete in all respects. So this is going to add value because this saves a lot of cost. I'm not sure how many of you are aware that US and Europe, there is lots of security system which has come in place. So when you are exporting the cargo, you have to file an advanced declarations to the US customs as well as to the Europe customs. And everything goes via an EDI. And over there, the cost is huge. So if you hire an agency there, and if they are doing on your behalf, probably you will transfer the data to them. They will validate the data. They will file it. So there is a huge cost. Now, if we use it through an EDI system, we completely eliminate that cost. Now, the only requirement is that your data should be perfect in all respect. That's where, this system can really help us out, in my opinion. We all know the sales incentive, the targets, I think this triggers or this software can helpful in managing our sales targets, sales incentives also, that area. So we are just working on that area as well. Strategy focus, I think this is also one of the area which is critical here. You have a certain strategy. How does it helps here over there? We heard in the morning also from various speakers about, it will be very, very helpful as far as your strategic implementation part is concerned or an execution part is concerned. Few experience would like to share with you. When we started implementing, the people think that this is one kind of a reports which is coming out, It will be a report. But then you need to really change the mindset that, yes, this is a report, but it is also a trigger. You need to action on that report pretty fast, Though it is a report, but it is a trigger. The tendency here, report comes, I'll keep it in my mailbox, I will look into this as and when the time permits, But we have to really change their mindsets of the people that this is very, very important. And this will actually help them in discharging their KPIs, actually, the finance people KPIs. And this software can really add to the finance people's KPI or to raise the bar. I think this is what our experience is, when we implemented that. So just wanted to highlight to all of you. Currently, we restricted to a finance department only, which I just mentioned in my previous slides, that we want to even go beyond finance, I would say. So this will happen in 2013. Types of triggers and notifications, I did mention about that. It is a master notification or a transactional notification or an informational notification. So you can set it up, a transactional, which is an incremental, which comes to you on a daily basis kind of a thing. Master meaning you can get it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, just to ensure that all the triggers which has been raised earlier, nothing is appearing again now. So the past history, you can apply these triggers even to your past data as well, which will help you out to clean up your database if there is any anomaly in that case. So that's one. Or you want to have an information to somebody that this trigger has been raised kind of a thing. That also you can set it up here. The basic users and the responsibility, well-defined internal workflow. I think this area is really, really important. How do you define the roles and responsibility of a basic user and an experts user? We find some challenges here when we set it up, but I think once we understood how it works and how it operates, so today I think people across the country are well familiar with what rights and responsibility matrix I have and what's rights and responsibility matrix for the experts user. Just run through that thing. The basic users, we have a regional setup kind of a thing. As I told you, 29 offices, but we have 4 regions kind of a thing. And we have a regional finance managers who are sitting in each region. So they are the basic users at the point of time. The issue when it gets raised, it goes to the finance manager, and they are supposed to address that thing in 2 or 3 days time kind of a thing. So we have also given them at the moment 3 days timeline, and we are expecting that once we improve that thing, that timeline can be further pruned down to say 1 day or a 2 day kind of a things. So whether is it, if it is happening in 24 hours time, excellent, I would say, you know. The FM is the first point. The internal audit, they will close. We have an internal audit team, a regional internal audit team as well. They are entitled to close the issues at the end of the day. So what we thought that this is an audit tool. So, you know, the internal audit people should, it's like an audit, like how we used to do an audit as an auditor. Okay, we go through the whole thing, we list out all the, you know, exceptions, and we sit with the actual process owners and figure it out, these are the problem. Either you solve it or give your remarks. And finally, as an auditor, we close the issue. This is exactly the same thing what we replicated here in the system. Also, we have defined an escalation process. I think this is very, very important. Somebody in the system who owns the whole process, there has to be an escalation process. So here in my office, we have a national manager internal audit who sits here, Rajkumar. He or a issue comes to my desk for a final closure or a final escalation point of view if the issue has not been resolved in 3 days or 5 days as the time which we have defined in the, for each and every triggers, you know. Experts users, they have a full rights, of course, from the systems. The dashboards which we have set it up, it gives you which are the open issues actually. So there are 4 categories: open issues, the issues due, issues overdue kind of a thing, and the issues overview by risk. That's the 4 way we define those things in the system. You can also, as an experts user, you can pull out various reports also, like in aging reports and stuff like that, you know, for the issues. How you can say you can differentiate the issues or you can resolve the issues within the caseware framework, I can say. You can correct the issues which has been raised in the software. So if there's an error, you can immediately correct those things. You can providing an attachment that justify authenticity of the transaction so that the internal audit can close the issues at their end. Because there are a number of times, you know, as an auditor, we need to have a supporting evidence that how do you say that this has been resolved. So please show it to us. So let's assume that there is an error in an invoice and service tax not being charged. So the people used to cancel the old invoice, raise a fresh invoice, and that fresh invoice they used to attach it in confirmation that this has been taken care. So instead of having all those manual process, it's been automated here. Providing comments on the issues with relevant reasoning. If the user feels that this is the right thing what they have done, provide a proper reasoning and pass it on to the internal auditor. They will review these things. If they wish that they want to go back again to them, they will go back again to them, and then they will close these things in the system. Or exempt the transaction if it is a part of an exempt category. So sometimes, as I mentioned to you, that the service tax not charged because of an exemption category comes in. So they put it under the exemption category list. So that's how they used to close this issue. The closure point of view also, you can say, the issues assigned to you meaning a user and closed by the user. That's a one option. Issues assigned to the user, reviewed by the user and closed by, they escalate the issues because they says this is nothing to do with me. So I'm escalating to somebody else. you know, or I cannot do certain thing because it is out of my rights kind of a thing. I don't have a rights to handle such and such things. So they escalate the issues. Issues reassigned by the user and closed by the last user with close permission, that's also third category. And the issues escalated to the user and closed by the user. This is just a dashboard kind of a thing. I think we have just gone through the latest version, but this is a 3.3 version dashboard. This gives you, as I mentioned to you, the issues, open issues. This is issues due. This is the overdue issues, and this is overview by the risk. It gives you a summary kind of a thing that, and you define what are the summary you want to have it here, so that you can control all your issues through this dashboard. You can also click it here straight away and go to the you can deep dive into each and every areas in that sense. This is a report summary, a notification report summary. You can say that which are the reports and how it gets notified to a user. A user can click it here and go to the actual issues, which I think we have just seen in the previous presentation. This is also one of the report details, completely details that how the report details looks like here. Here, how the users can solve the issues, meaning you can put your remarks here, or you can attach supporting documents, and you can close the issues here. Thank you, friends. Very frankly speaking, once you are familiar with the software, it's quite easy. Of course, we took the help of Deepji's team. Jairam and Saurav are very, very helpful to us. But after going through his presentation, Andrew's presentation, previous one, and he did mention that even a layman can implement. So I assume that going forward, it will be further easier, We have not tried, but you can, in my opinion, yes, you can do it. At the same time, you can, the way the workflow has been defined, it is exactly as Deepji rightly said, the idea scripting within since this is a dashboard kind of a control things, but you can do that thing in my opinion. Yes, you can do that.